Oh, gotcha. Okay.
I just tried to do it even from our website, you gotta download it.
Oh, it's not.
No, it's like, oh, just the same.
Interesting. Okay. Oh, I got it.
Yeah. Yes. 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 Hey, Chief, how's it going? That lady came in today. She said she gonna holler at you. Hey man, when if I go to court, man, she gonna get me, man. Well, if I be sitting in court, she probably gonna look over there at me like this, man. She gonna. Right.
We're gonna go ahead and call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. Acknowledging that Trustee Williams is calling in virtually due to being out of town for work. Please call the roll.
Trustee Williams.
Here.
Trustee Sanchez.
Here.
Trustee Jones.
Here.
Trustee Lightford.
Here.
Trustee Peppers. Trustee Brandon.
Here.
Mayor Booker.
Here.
Quorum present.
All right, due to the invocation, all heads bowed. Father God, thank you for gathering us here tonight to discuss the village of Maywood. May all conversation be productive and pleasing unto your sight. And may we get through this speedily and blessingly. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right, let's stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I need a motion for approval of minutes from the committee of the whole and the special board meeting of the Board of Trustees on Tuesday, June 4th, 2024.
Motion to approve.
Second, motion to approve by Trustee Brandon, second by Trustee Sanchez.
Right.
Please call the roll.
Trustee Williams.
Trustee Williams. Trustee Williams. Can you hear us? Okay. We were doing a motion to approve the minutes. Call the roll.
Okay.
Trustee Williams.
Yes.
Trustee Sanchez.
Aye.
Trustee Jones.
Aye.
Trustee Lightford. Trustee Peppers. Trustee Brandon.
Aye.
Mayor Booker. Motion carried.
Ms. Banks for oaths, reports, proclamations, announcements, and appointments.
Good evening, Mayor and Board of Trustees.
Good evening.
The Village of Maywood extends condolences and prayers to the following families from the Village of Maywood. The family of Mrs. Susie Lewis, Maywood's oldest resident, passed away recently. Mrs. Dolores Lawrence, Mrs. Yolanda Lidsey, and Mr. Joe Wilson, owner of T&JJ's and former commissioner for the Traffic and Safety Commission. We ask that you keep these families in your thoughts during this time. Upcoming events: fries with a firefighter at McDonald's on First and Lake Street on this Saturday, July 20th at 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Inspire Fest on Saturday, July 27th from 4 to 8 p.m. at 13th and Washington Boulevard. And our Village's Back to School Bash on Saturday, August 10th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Van Buren Park. Also save the date for Maywood Fest, which will be held September 6th, 7th, and 8th at Maywood's Veterans Park. As a reminder, please visit the Village website at maywood-il.gov to sign up for My Civic to stay abreast of all current and upcoming Village events, as well as to receive Village alerts. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Banks. All right, for financial management reports, we have the financial report and the warrant list. Are there any questions?
Yes, so I most certainly had some concerns, and I did reach out to village staff in regards to those concerns. Earlier today, those concerns were pretty much pertaining to the staff person that was, I believe, that was hired for the board. I guess it's the board assistant role that I most certainly had some concerns about because it was not in the budget. I have requested a copy of the contract with the independent contractor. That's the term that was being utilized. I've also requested a copy of the individual's resume. But I guess what my concern is, when we originally approved the budget for this year's 2024-2025 fiscal year budget, it was not a part of the official budget that was approved by the board. And so the other piece for me is the board did not direct staff or, I know that we have a new village manager or the past or previous village manager, that there was a need for us to have an assistant. And then the other point that I would like to make is I guess, who drafted the roles and responsibilities of this individual. I think it would have been a better, a few things. It would have been a better perspective for if there was a need for that to be presented to the board, if staff was being inundated with work as it relates to, work from the board of trustees, and that I didn't hear or see anything pertaining to that. And the other thing is, I think that the board should have been involved as it relates to involved in crafting what the responsibilities of this individual was going to be. And I'm told that the HR did not draft it, so I did reach out to get those additional documents as it relates to this individual that was hired. So that was a red flag for me when I was looking at the warrant list. So I am concerned about, and then where it's coming from as well. So the money is coming out of the line item for the board of trustees, right? And so if it wasn't in the budget, if we didn't approve it, how could that be something that could come out of the board of trustees line item? And so I would definitely encourage the finance committee to take a look at it, because what it's going to do is send that particular area over by $20,000. It's something that we have not discussed, had not one conversation about. And so for me, I was concerned about that. And so I'm looking for information, and if it was a mishap or if it was something that was overlooked, most certainly it should have been communicated, and possibly it should have been something that should have been a part of the manager's budget and not the board of trustees budget, because we haven't had even one conversation about this individual, what this individual role or responsibility is, what the function is going to be, what can we call these individuals for. And I think one of my colleagues mentioned it before, and this is for Mr. Torres, as it relates to establishing a clear organizational chart for the village of Maywood, and how things are going to function internally. It's something that I would like to see. And so, again, Frank, those are my concerns in regards to this particular individual. If you can provide me with some feedback, I would like the contract as well as the advertising. I haven't seen no advertisement, and it almost appears like we're getting away from advertising these different opportunities for people to apply for, that I'm not even sure if the board even knew existed. And so for me, as it relates to that particular item, and I believe, I won't mention the young lady's name, but I would like some more information on that. And Frank, that portion is, those concerns are directly for you, as it relates to that particular individual and how that whole thing came about.
What line item are you, like the line number?
Well, it was on the warrant list.
Right, which number?
I have one more second. The item number is 11. I think it's 3406.
Okay.
It is under president and trustees.
11-406 is accountants for finance department.
So that's 1134, and it may be, because it's kind of blurry. It's at the top of the page. Top of page 16, actually. And I guess for the record, the name is Takara or Takara
Okay, all right.
Blair.
So Tiago Blair, let the note reflect that that's actually a consulting contract that's actually under the village manager's budget line item. So we'll get with finance to correct that. That's actually not something that should be under
Okay.
trustees.
Okay, if that's the case, I appreciate you for your response.
Okay, that's all I just wanted to make. I'm like, yep, it does need to get changed.
Okay, because when I had called, okay, so as long as that's the case, that makes sense to me.
Okay. All right, village manager, village president report, none. Village manager's report, have items A through Q. Are there any questions? If there are none, we'll move to the village attorney's report. We have village attorney's report, A through I. If there are no questions, we have public comment. For public comment, you can speak for 3 minutes. You do not have to provide your name. You can provide your, I'm sorry, you don't have to provide your address. Provide your name. You have 3 minutes.
Ms. Perkins?
My name is Edwina Perkins. Dear Maywoodians, we are allowing a non-Maywoodian by the name of Mayor Booker to destroy our community. He cut off the use of Fifth Avenue building for use. He closed off our park district use with the help of the code department. This is just a few of the things he has done with his 4 trustees' help. He gave you a village manager with less experience to run the village of Maywood for the first time in the village of Maywood. The first time in Maywood's history that he himself brought to you a village manager who does not have sufficient experience to run the village of Maywood. Please, if you are dissatisfied, please call me. I'm a resident of a minimum of 45 years. I was mayor for 2 terms, and I spent 18 years on the board of the village of Maywood. And if you are dissatisfied, please call me at 724-1942. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, just a point of clarity, former Mayor Perkins, the Fifth Avenue building is open from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. every day for our middle school and high school students that have programming. So I'm not sure where that came from. And then just for a point of clarity, the 921 South 9th Avenue portion of the Park District building was shut down by a Cook County inspection, not a Village of Maywood inspection. So that's all the comments that we have for that. All right, moving on to Trustee committee reports, none. I need a motion for the omnibus agenda, items A through T.
Motion approved.
Motion to approve, I need a second. Motion to approve by trustee Sanchez, second by trustee Lightfoot. Will you read the omnibus agenda?
Letter A, motion to approve the monthly financial report in the amount of $3,368,510. Letter B, motion to approve the warrant list number 200551 dated June 30th, 2024 in the amount of $2,558,787.66. Letter C, motion to authorize and direct Dedelson Law Firm on behalf of Village of Maywood to complete the opt-in registration and complete and submit a proof of claim form in the National Opioid Settlement Disclosure Company so that the village can participate in and receive apportioned funds according to the Illinois allocation agreement. Letter D, motion to authorize and approve the execution of an invoice payable to the County Emergency Telephone System Board, ETSB, for the acquisition of portable and mobile radios for the use by the Village of Maywood in the amounts of $19,345.29. Village payment number 1 payable to the Village of Broadview, and $48,582.60. Village payment number 2 payable to Cook County ETSB pursuant to the memorandum of understanding for cost sharing entered into with other regional village fire departments and fire protection districts as approved by Village Resolution number R-2023-69. And this is a resolution authorizing the approval and execution of a memorandum of understanding MOU with participating regional fire departments and fire protection districts relative to the multiple fire department joint application for purchase of new portable radios. Letter E, motion to waive competitive bidding and authorizing the and approve the execution of a quotation dated July 3rd, 2024, and issued by O'Leary's Contractors Equipment and Supply of Chicago, Illinois, in the amount of $92,984 for the purchase of 4 light towers, Wanco WLTT-4MK 106K compact diesel light tower model with Kubota D1005 engine and a 6K 6,000 watt generator with optional upgrades, dash 350 watt LED floodlights and 2 message boards, Wanco WVTMA mini matrix message boards with hydraulic lifts and full matrix display with display area of 55 inches by 96 inches, as requested by the Maywood Department of Homeland Security, and approval of the expenditure of ARPA funds to purchase the equipment. F, motion to waive competitive bidding and authorize and approve the execution of the purchase of 2 replacement Ford Explorers all-wheel drive police squad vehicles from Asia Motors in Lover's Park, Illinois. 1 2020 Ford Explorer all-wheel drive at the purchase price of $28,795. And Chicago Motors Inc. of Chicago, Illinois. 1 2021 Ford Explorer all-wheel drive at the purchase price of $29,995, with additional costs related to transfer and installation fees for the emergency lights and equipment. That's $6,221.84 per vehicle, and decal marking and striping, $1,100 per vehicle, for the total purchase price of $73,433.68. Letter G, ordinance authorizing a waiver of the competitive bid process in lieu of solicitation of competitive proposals and authorizing the approval and execution of a low bid proposal and construction agreement with the low bidder, GA Paving LLC of Bellwood, Illinois, for the completion of the 2024 Maywood Alley Improvement Project and the appropriation and expenditure of the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, state and local fiscal recovery funds assistance listing number 21.027, provided under a 2024 subrecipient agreement through the Invest in Cook IIC program to pay for the alley improvements. The project cost is $850,000. Letter H is an ordinance authorizing a waiver of the competitive bid process in lieu of solicitation of competitive proposals and authorizing the approval and execution of demolition contract proposals with a low bidder, Master Guys Demolition Inc. of Hickory Hills, Illinois, to demolish vacant, severely dilapidated village-owned structures at the 1101 South First Avenue property and the 1105 South First Avenue property located within the Madison Street, Fifth Avenue Tax Increment Financing District, and for the appropriation and expenditure of the Madison Street, Fifth Avenue Tax Increment Financing District funds to pay for the TIF eligible redevelopment costs related to the demolition work. Demolition contract price is $35,600 for the 1101 South First Avenue property, and demolition contract price for $35,600 for the 1105 South First Avenue property. Letter I, ordinance amending subsection 11.3.t, generic use standards, personal care establishments of the Maywood zoning ordinance relative to spacing requirements for personal care establishments. Letter J, resolution authorizing and approving the execution of the settlement agreement for Flanagan, Director of Labor in Illinois Department of Labor versus the Village of Maywood Fire Department, IDOL file 1709556, OSHA citation. Letter K, resolution authorizing a waiver of the competitive bid process in lieu of solicitation of competitive proposals and authorizing the approval and execution of emergency demolition bids and demolition contract with low bidder Master Guys Demolition Inc. to demolish certain abandoned dilapidated structures and approving the use of grant funds from the Illinois Housing Development Authority Strong Communities Program to pay for the demolition work. Demolition contract price is $35,600 for 1412 South 7th Avenue property. Demolition contract price of $35,600 for the 31 North 8th Avenue property demolition. Demolition contract price of $35,600 for the 623 South 16th Avenue property, and demolition contract price of $27,100 for the 149 South 18th Avenue property. Letter L, motion to waive competitive bidding and authorizing and approve the execution of an invoice dated July 9th, 2024, and issued by F&J Dimensions of Northlake, Illinois, in the amount of $23,500 for the remodeling of the women's washroom located in the second floor of Village Hall. Letter M, motion to waive competitive bidding and authorize and approve the execution of an invoice dated July 9th, 2024, and issued by F&J Dimensions of Northlake, Illinois, in the amount of $25,250 for the remodeling of the men's washroom located in the second floor of Village Hall. Letter N, motion to waive competitive bidding and authorizing and approve the execution of a job proposal dated June 23rd, 2024, and issued by Geno's Heating and Plumbing of Broadway, Illinois, in the amount of $19,337.10 for emergency sewer repair work within the 2nd Avenue right-of-way adjacent to 212 North 2nd Avenue property. Letter O, motion to waive competitive bidding and authorize and approve the execution of a job proposal dated July 3rd, 2024, and issued by Geno's Heating and Plumbing, Inc. of Broadway, Illinois, in the amount of $43,949.23 for emergency water main repair work within the 17th Avenue right-of-way adjacent to the 1006 South 17th Avenue property. Letter P, motion to waive competitive bidding and authorize and approve the execution of an invoice dated July 8th, 2024, and issued by RZ Services, Inc. of Palos Hills, Illinois, in the amount of $57,112.23 for HVAC unit repair work at the Maywood Water Pump Station. Letter Q, motion to waive competitive bidding and authorize and approve the execution of an invoice dated July 9th, 2024, and issued by F&J Dimensions of Northlake, Illinois, in the amount of $27,000 for the remodeling of the interior of the Maywood Water Pump Station to comply with the IEPA inspection items. Letter R, motion to waive competitive bidding and authorize and approve the execution of a contract proposal dated May 24, 2024, and issued by TWIG Technologies, LLC of Shorewood, Illinois, in an amount not to exceed $35,000 for the performance of a street light audit and assessment to repair an inventory and database of village street lights and other village light fixtures for the purpose of developing a scope of work and schedule for village-owned light fixture replacements. Letter S, motion to accept the village manager's recommendation to award the performance of Phase 3 construction engineering services for the 19th Avenue Improvements Project under the Federal Surface Transportation Program to the highest ranked qualified responsive submitter, Hancock Engineering Company, after the completion of a request for proposal evaluation process, and to direct Hancock Engineering Company to provide a professional services agreement for the village board approval to ratify the award of the Phase 3 construction engineering services for the project. And letter T, motion to waive competitive bidding and authorize and approve the execution of an invoice dated July 11, 2024, and issued by Premium Contractor Services, Inc. of Chicago, Illinois, in the amount not to exceed $35,000 for the purchase and installation of a dog park fence and gates, ground cover, benches and shade areas, water stations, weigh stations, signage, and smart access hardware for the dog park to be constructed at Waterworks Park, and the expenditure of ARPA funds and other available grant funds and the village funds to pay for the project. Please call the roll.
Trustee Williams. Trustee Sanchez.
Aye.
Trustee Jones.
Aye.
Trustee Lightfoot. Trustee Peppers. Trustee Brandon.
Aye.
Mayor Booker.
Aye.
Motion carried.
All right, item 16, no new business. Item 17, old business. Need a motion to authorize and approve the execution of proposal from Grant Consulting Group, Inc. regarding the comprehensive appraisal of the Maywood Fire Department operations dated January 2024 with a consultant fee of $24,875.
Motion to approve.
No, it's 34. Motion under second.
Yeah, it's 34. You said 24.
34, I'm sorry. Motion to approve by trustee Sanchez. I need a second.
Second.
Second by trustee Lightfoot. Please call the roll.
Trustee Williams.
Trustee Brandon.
As it relates to this company, there were some concerns about this company. We had a lot of conversations in the Public Safety Committee, which Trustee Peppers chair, but I have the opportunity to co-chair the committee. As it relates to those concerns, some of those concerns is the cost that the village is going to be spending, the $34,000. We've heard directly from the leadership on the Village of Maywood's end, and directly from the chief, actually, as it relates to other alternatives that we were looking at. And so I don't even know how it ended up on this agenda, but it most certainly was not approved by our committee to be on this agenda this evening, to be spending $34,000 to have this company to come in. And quite frankly, based on the language that they used in the letter that they submitted about the concerns within the department, it appeared that they were coming in with the wrong perception of what type of work they were going to be performing on behalf of the Village of Maywood, and as it relates to the department. And it really was speaking directly to or directly about the leadership in the department. And so I most certainly understood the chief perspective as it relates to this company, and not wanting to go with this company and identify other means and other avenues. And some of those avenues that were discussed was having our own staff, the village manager, as well as the village HR representative, James Ellison, to establish a meeting with those individuals to figure out, a way forward, and to, talk about what improvements that needed to be made. And so, again, this is something that we have not approved in the Public Safety Committee, to spend $34,000 to have this particular entity to come in. And one of the other alternatives that was discussed, and Frank, this is for you as well, with Jim, is to look at having some retired folks in the industry to come in to do an assessment or to do an evaluation, but most certainly not to spend $34,000 with this particular company without exhausting all of those other options and alternatives as it relates to what's needed for the fire department. And so my vote on this evening most certainly will be no, because the purpose of those committees is not just to be a facade or just for busy work. It is to have things to be properly to work through appropriate channels, it to be netted and vetted. And we're not really utilizing these committees as they should. And after a few years, I don't even think it's working at all. And I think it's just to be another channel to stop or block folks from being able to really do good work in the village of Maywood. And so I'm most certainly will be voting no. We have not agreed to this, and I don't even know who put it on the agenda or why it's on the agenda, but again, my vote will be no. Spend $34,000 to have outside entities come in when there will certainly be other alternatives.
Thank you, Trustee Brandon. To give a point of clarity, the report and the assessment that was presented back in January, we agreed at the January board meeting for it to go back to your committee for review. We're in July. This was voted, the expense was voted on for this year's fiscal budget to actually pay for the assessment because we already knew how much the assessment was going to cost. I have spoken to Trustee Peppers, and you guys had other consultants come in. You had other consultants come in and present. The only thing that was asked is what McGrath provided, which was 2 assessments that you can assess the work of an assessment of a department, an assessment of policies, an assessment of things that we can strategically do to move the department forward in the future. There's nothing in there, either one of their assessments, that talks about or discusses any HR relations or anything that needs to be done by the village manager or HR. It's literally the 2 assessments that were attached to your board packet when we first got this were the assessments of where the department stands, where some things can be done to possibly move forward, where we could budget for some things, but it's really a path forward. No different than we've done upgrades to the finance department. We've done upgrades with our new computer systems for building and code. We've done upgrades for our systems in regards to public works. It's the same thing as understanding an assessment for the department. So we can't ask the actual department to assess themselves. We need to have a path forward or a critical path or some type of strategic plan for the fire department. That is all this assessment is. So whatever personal relations or HR relations or personnel issues that might exist, when you look at both of their assessments, both of each are almost 200 pages, they do not go into personnel issues. They discuss assessments of the actual departments. The other presenters that came and spoke, it was asked if they could produce assessments of work that they've completed. At this point, we are 6 months into your committee of something that has already been assessed, that has already been added to the budget. We need to do the assessment so that if there are things that we need to budget for, the assessment is completed and we're able to budget for the next fiscal year if there's something to ask for the next fiscal year. That is why it's on the agenda.
So I have a follow-up question.
Yes, Trustee.
So who put this on the agenda?
I put it back on the agenda.
So-
It's been since January.
So you put it, but did you ask for like an update?
Yes.
Did you ask for like a response?
I spoke
on-
to Trustee. I definitely had messages back and forth.
And did he tell you what the plan that was spelled out by the committee?
Even the plans that you just gave, we went through those. Those don't make sense to actually have a
Does
strategic
it make
plan.
sense to you or does it make sense to Frank?
So Trustee, Village Manager Torres realistically understands that this is an assessment. So if you would like for
Yeah, I would
Village
like
Manager
to-
Torres to speak?
Yeah,
Manager
for the day-to-day operations.
So what was your question, trustee?
Well, my question was, and I did get a little bit of clarity on how this got on the agenda because the mayor just stated that he put it on the agenda. But my question was the alternatives that we discussed prior to going with this particular company. Did we explore those options that we discussed and that we laid out with Jim? But the conversation continued, and from my perspective, from what I was informed, that it wasn't executed on because the will wasn't there to do it. And so I just want to know from you, did we explore those other options that were put on the table for staff? And most certainly any other cheaper options other than spending $34,000.
Trustee, there was options that we talked about. I did have a conversation recently with the chief. Rick and I talked about it. I explained to the chief, and I firmly believe assessments are always good. This is not a witch hunt. This is not a point fingers. Other things came to light, obviously, that you guys just passed with the Department of Labor and versus the Village of Maywood. And we need to move forward. And I assured the chief that we are going to do this with an independent and open-minded way of doing it. The chief is, you could ask him, he was understanding of that and always wanting to improve. Not to say that the department is doing anything wrong, but improvements are always good and nobody's perfect. So, the chief, if you want to piggyback on that in any way, this is not, like I said before, this is not a witch hunt. This is not a pointing fingers. This is an assessment of improvement. Chief and I talked about improving on the equipment in the near future. And we are trying to make Maywood better and every department better.
So, wait, so you're saying, based on the concern, did you hear about the concerns about this particular company and the language that they use in the letter?
I did hear the concerns. The chief did talk to me about some concerns he had. I assured the chief that we are not going to go in any direction that is going to be biased or pointing fingers again. It's going to be an improvement, an assessment on trying to improve the department. Not that there's anything wrong with the administration, not that there's anything wrong with the department itself. It's an assessment like everything else to improve. And that's what the best way we should go, and it's an independent assessment. It's not a self-assessment. I know the chief is going to also do self-assessments and improve in-house also. We talked about that. And I firmly believe this is going to make the department a better department. It is also under the impression of the union that they want to improve also. It's not to point fingers. It's not to be a witch hunt. It is to improve on the department and assess the department and assess the needs of the department.
Well, again, Frank, as it relates to this particular company, based on the language they used in their letter, we should have been looking at a different company based on the perspective and based on what they communicated in their letter about the Village of Maywood and what they were coming in to view or to investigate or to assess. And so it is for that reason I will definitely not be supporting this because it did not go through the proper channels. We had spelled out different alternatives, most certainly that did not cost $34,000 for the village to explore. Even Jim, prior to you, mentioned having folks who have retired in the industry and to bring them forth, to have them to come in to have something that would be cheaper for the Village of Maywood and its taxpayers to be paying for it. So again, for that reason, as it relates to this $34,000 item, I will definitely be voting no because it most certainly did not appropriately go through the right channels and those options that we laid out were not even executed on. This was the last option. There was option A, B, and C. This was not option A.
Trustee Sanchez. Can we hear from the chief? Chief Roman.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening to the Mayor and Board of Trustees.
Good evening.
In having conversations back and forth with the committees, trustees, with the village manager, yes, we did want an opportunity to work on this issue ourselves. And personally and professionally, I still feel that way. I am not, how should I say it, opposed to the idea of individuals from maybe the outside coming in to make an assessment, to give an opinion, because this is what the command staff has done over the years. We have gone to different counties, we have gone to classes in different counties, in different suburbs, to see how departments perform duties, to see how departments take care of their daily operations. Some of those things that we came up with, that we observed, that we would like to bring here, We have not had the opportunity on all of those, but we have had the opportunity on some. Financials involve part of that, and then sometimes it just takes a little longer to put plans in place. As far as the company itself, yes, I did. I did state at a committee meeting that I had concerns based on the letter that I read about understanding the project. There's a letter that McGrath put in there, and it had one paragraph. And under that section of understanding the project, it basically speaks about coming in to address what was referred to in the letter as the dysfunction within the department. Yes, I took offense to that. I took offense to that because not on behalf of me, not on behalf of my office, but of the men and the women and the women over the years who have had disagreements, who have had differences of opinions, who come from different cultures, but when they're out on the street, they perform as a unit. We have done just as much work as other departments in the area, and we haven't allowed differences to get in the way of that. So yes, I did take offense to it. I asked for an opportunity to solve this problem within our department, our own members. Our members were up to that. Our command staff is up to that. That being said, I can understand that sometimes you want an outside view. But again, I was simply stating that we wanted the opportunity to look into this. Now, wherever the direction is, I'm open to it. I have voiced my concern about that paragraph in that introductory letter, and I still stand by it. I actually know one of the individuals that works for McGrath, the chief in Hanover Park. I've known him, I've met him, I've spoken to him, I've gone to classes that he's held at his firehouse. I haven't spoken to him in a while, but I do know of him. But again, we wanted the opportunity to work these things out within ourselves. I don't see that we cannot do that. The majority of the majority of the department is up to it. But whatever the direction is, we're going to take part in it, but we're also going to still do our due diligence. When I say our, I mean the department members do our due diligence to meeting objectives that are stated.
Okay, Chief, just again, I just want a point of clarity. Yes, that was a line item that was put in back in January. Since then, I've even been over to the firehouse to have discussions about that line item and other things. We are not doing an assessment on personnel issues. We are not doing an assessment on personality differences. We are not doing an assessment on teamwork making the dream work. It is literally the assessment on, as a fire department, practices, policies, future thought process, staffing thought processes, equipment, new equipment needs. It's an overall assessment of the department, not of individuals. It is not a fitness test. It is not a personality test. It is not a who gets along, who doesn't get along assessment. If you look at both of their assessments that was provided, it doesn't talk about any personnel issues. So yes, I will say when they did have the conversation, I believe with HR, is how that line item got put in there. But that was back in January, prior to multiple conversations happening since that time. There is nothing in the assessment about having the opportunity to fix a problem, because there is no problem from the assessment standpoint that exists. The other personnel issues are exactly what they are, personnel issues. So when we're saying assessment, it's literally to assess the department. It's not to assess whatever issues that I'm thankful and happy that I know a lot of different things have been worked out and pushed through and gotten done. So it's not an issue of the personnel stuff. It's literally, as we look to move the village of Maywood forward, what is the critical path and what is the plan for the police department, for the fire department? And even as we said when we had the meeting, we'll get the assessment, everybody will sit down, look at the assessment, have a conversation, pick it up, what makes sense, what doesn't make sense. what is, yeah, I say it all the time. You don't know what you don't know. You're not thinking about what you're not thinking about. That is literally all this assessment is.
Mayor, you heard me.
We said.
No, you heard me. You heard me say that I am not opposed to it.
Yeah.
Because
I just wanted to make sure.
there are a lot of things that they're going to say that I actually agree with them on. And one of them is going to be the status of our apparatus and our facilities. So again, I was just simply stating what I identified in the documentation as to be of concern. I was just bringing it to the forefront. But as far as the objective, no, because sometimes I can stand here all day and say we need this, we need this, we need this, we need this. But if you're hearing me say it all the time, not that you don't maybe believe me, but truthfully speaking, it carries more weight if it may come from another source because it adds to. I'm not saying I'm not being disingenuous, but it's another. It's more of a backup. It's something that can be added to the document. Yes, they do need this. Yes, the fleet of yesterday vehicle is too old. Yes, this particular piece of apparatus should be gone after 15 years. It's not me. It's not just me saying it. It's someone else saying it. So that I don't disagree with. The overall objective, I don't agree with. I'm just pointing out the one section in the introductory letter.
Okay, so we want to make sure since that letter was introduced and it's been discussed since January, that objective in that line item is not even a part of the assessment. But just for clarity.
So again, the conversation that we had from the public safety, this company was no longer even on the table for discussion. And so going back to what I just stated earlier, there was a plan A, B, and C. And the plan C, which was to have an outside investigation company come in, this company was not even in the mix. It's based on what their perception is already. When they mention that word dysfunction. And so they're coming in with the thought about the village and the fire department already when they should be coming in with a clear mind and they're coming in to do a real assessment. And so for me, again, when we're talking about working things to appropriate channels, and we have all of these committees set up, there was a plan laid out that it was not followed. And so what it does is it wastes folks' time. And so we have these meetings, spending hours conversating on these things, and this go back to before Frank. Even when Jim was here, there was a clear plan in place. It was not followed at all. And now this is back on the agenda to be approved, and we have not even touched on Plan A, not at all. And we're just going to approve $34,000. And what and I don't want to speak for the chief, because I'm not a spokesperson, but it appears that Frank and the chief is off in regards to this particular company. And I don't even know what those conversations were, or how you guys appear to be on the two different pages. So again, this should go back, and this board, if we want to do things the right way, should say, okay, so where are we at, Public Safety Committee, with moving forward with this item, or what's the plan to move forward? Can we have a copy, or can we have a proposal on what the plan you guys discussed so that we know which direction we're moving in? Because the plan was laid out for everybody, and Frank said he was aware of it, and Jim was aware of it, but nobody executed on it. Because our job up here is legislators, but the job of the village manager is to execute on those things that we have laid out. And so, for me, again, I have heard what the chief has stated, and I will certainly be voting no on this because it was not worked through the appropriate channels, and the plans that we have laid out as a committee, which is a disservice to us, was not followed either.
Please call the roll.
So, Mayor,
No, trustee.
you spoke with the chair.
Yeah. They've reviewed multiple different consulting companies in their committee.
We agreed to this consulting company. Chief had an issue with wording.
Back in
We
January.
rectified that.
Yes.
Chief, you're okay with a second set of eyes, an outside firm coming in, because like you stated, they are gonna say, hey, we need new air tanks, or we need a new ladder truck, or we need, whatever. Well, and it's not that we don't believe you by any means, but I know what you're saying. It's more of a validity check that an outside party says, hey, yes, they do need new respirators. So if everything's in order, I motion to approve.
We had a motion in a second already, so please call the roll.
Trustee Williams?
Aye.
Trustee Sanchez?
Aye.
Trustee Jones?
No.
Trustee Lightfoot? Trustee Peppers? Trustee Brandon?
No.
Mayor Booker?
Aye.
Motion carried.
All right. Board trustee comments. Trustee Jones.
I have a comment. Earlier this year, we decided as a board to table the transfer of the parks until August. And so it's now July, and I would like to know if we're still planning on having that conversation of August. It was tabled, but we wanted to untable it formally. And then two, I did ask Attorney DeRuzik to kind of give us a legal update of where we left off, since it was a few years ago, but I thought we'd just have another update in general about what our plan is with this, or what the plan is with this agreement, and then also like where we are in general with the resources that the village has poured into the parks we've had. We have had some updates, and just kind of come up with some sort of cumulative kind of amount, just so the community knows what we've kind of done so far and what the plan is really for the future. So that was the plan. It's July.
Yep.
Just make sure that's going to be on the table for next month.
So we all agreed to have the board retreat on July 30th. So that'll be a part of the discussion of the July 30th board retreat. So we'll talk about the updates that have been done already, and then there'll be the conversation of the status of Park District.
I don't know if I agree to that date. I could probably make it work, but
If we all were here and voted and agreed to the different dates. July 30th was the date.
wait, I thought it was what was the last Tuesday? Not this Tuesday, the last Tuesday.
That's the 30th. That's July 30th.
No, I'm talking about June. Okay. All right. Well, never mind. All right. Well, so all right, July 30th, we're having a board retreat. What's the time of that again?
That's the 7 o'clock. So remember the initial goal was to not really have to do a board meeting in July. We had some bills to pay. So this was the pop-up meeting. The 30th was the scheduled board retreat. Because we were supposed to have the orientation that you wanted last Tuesday, but KTJ had.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking
The
about.
orientation had to go to, he had to go to a training, so he had to reschedule that date. But the retreat was always scheduled for the 30th. So we have to wait for Attorney DeRuzik to come back, I guess at the August 6th meeting, to discuss when the next date would be for the scheduled orientation date. But the board would discuss the parks at the retreat on 30th.
Okay.
All right.
I have a question.
Trustee Brandon?
Yeah, this question for the attorney. For the 5th and Roosevelt Road property, do we have an update, a status update on where we are at with that property, or acquiring the property, the corner property?
415 Roosevelt?
Correct.
I don't have that information at my fingertips, so we can provide that on the 30th as well.
Okay, if you could provide me with that information. And then I just wanted to mention, as I was going through this packet, one of the things that came to mind to me is as we were spending, a lot of the opera funds or things that may be a need for, right? A lot of the equipment, that we may be behind on purchase on. One thing that came to mind that I was highly concerned about is getting the resources, these ARPA funds, out to the residents and to the people of Maywood. We've had a lot of conversations on these items. I haven't seen any energy. I've seen some paperwork on it, and I haven't heard anything else in regards to those programs. The programs that I'm speaking of specifically is a home improvement programs. Those dollars were to be, to help folks recover from the pandemic. We are now at 2024. We got about 2 years remaining to exhaust those funds, and not $1, to my knowledge, has gone out to support not one resident. And so for me, I'm cool and I'm okay with equipment, but I want to see those dollars hit the homes, the businesses of the village of Maywood, because we are well behind in making sure that those things go out. So this is really for Frank in regards to where we're at with building out those programs to assist Maywood residents as it relates to those opera-funded programs. Home improvement programs, we talked about the rain door program, and there was some other programs under there as well, specifically to help the people and the residents of Maywood. And I haven't really heard anything. It's been a while since I heard anything being done on it or how the programs are going to work. I know there was a staffing issue, that we're going to need some additional staff. Additional staff were hired to assist with these programs. So I'm just trying to figure out, do you have an update for the board and the community as it relates to those programs that were approved by the board, those assistance programs for residents?
So, trustee, just to provide you an update, I understand what you requested. I'm giving you an update on what you asked for. So to give you an update on what you asked for, if you recall at the last board meeting, the actual program was listed under the president's report. So I'm giving you an update. We approved, trustee. If you asked a question,
for staff.
So, trustee, you asked a question. I'm trying to answer it for you. Because if you recall, at the last board meeting, we approved the low-income program, we approved the match for residents, and we approved the senior program. That information did go out. There were over 59 applicants for this season. Again, as to your point, we have 2 more years to do even more of the program. But there's 59 applicants in processing through the community engagement department, working with the building and code department. Because what they're processing right now, if you go back to when we actually approved it, those 59 applicants have to go through an assessment through the building and code department for their homes first. So once they go through that assessment process, then the next phase of actual renovations will start. But we just approved the program at the last board meeting. The process was they have applied. It's 59 people in processing right now.
So that's what I'm going back to Frank, who's in charge of day-to-day
You
operations.
would really want to go to Ms. Banks if you want to ask.
I'm going to Ms. Banks' boss, which is Frank. I'm working to the appropriate channels, and so that's why I'm going through Frank, who's the village manager. So my question is again, so if we just approve this program, what I have not seen is any flyers or any marketing material on it. And so this is why I'm working things to the appropriate channel so we can hold the appropriate parties accountable for what they say and what they don't say. And so for me, again, I haven't seen any marketing in regards to this. How were the people selected? And so this is what I'm talking about. When a program is established, or when we establish a program, we should have some sort of marketing material on it to be able to communicate to like residents that, oh, these resources are available. This is how you apply for it. This is how you communicate with it. And so what I'm saying is we are all steering this ship together. One person don't have control over everything. And so we should be informed on everything that's happening as it relates to the village of Maywood. And so for me not to see a flyer, I'm just trying to figure out how or why. I don't know if any other board member received it, but most certainly as an official officer of the village of Maywood, I should have received a flyer so I can help market it and advertise it to the constituents of Maywood, right? And then it's a dispatch. We have a diverse community. I haven't seen anything in regards to marketing about the program, about the Rain Door program, how people can apply. None of that. And so that's why I'm saying it should be reported back to this board. The folks who established these programs, I was part of the finance committee with Trustee Jones, where it started. oh, what's the progress on it? Here's the flyer. You know, we're going to start marketing here. This is going to be the cutoff date, the begin date, all of those different things. And so, again, Frank, I'm looking to you, not to no directors. I'm looking to you because you run the day-to-day operation of the village. And so that's what I'm looking for. And so, and to wrap this whole thing up, to the attorney, I don't know if this is going to happen at the retreat, but we most certainly need to put forth those goals and objectives for the village manager to make sure that there's a clear expectations, so we know that when it's time to evaluate the village manager, exactly what we evaluate on. There is a bonus attached to his contract, and so if we're going to be evaluating folks, we need to make sure that we have a clear path and a clear standard set on what the evaluation is going to look like. And so that's to wrap up my point. And so I hope at the June or July 30th meeting that that will be discussed, and we can hopefully bring those goals and objectives because he's already started. Ideally you would want to have those in the very beginning process and not in the middle to be able to have a fair evaluation process. So that's the next thing I would like to request as well.
All right, so trustee, just for a point of clarity, the advertisement did go out in the monthly newsletter. The advertisement of the flyers have been handed out in multiple different community engagement activities.
To the board.
Events. There's a whole page on the village website
To the
of
board.
this program.
To the board.
So let's be
To the
clear.
board.
So trustee, as a board member, you receive the newsletter every
No.
month.
No.
Trustee.
The community received it. As a
I'm
board,
not-
the board should have received
Trustee,
it.
you
before
cannot
the
allow me
meeting.
to speak and then you just interrupt.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
I apologize. Go ahead.
Right? So,
Go ahead.
all I'm saying is, just like every other flyer goes out, this flyer was shared on social media, it was shared on the monthly newsletter, and there's an entire web page on the village board, on the Village of Maywood's page, dedicated to this program, which is how you got 59 applicants. The way that they expressed their interest was they went online and they filled out the interest themselves, or they called the community engagement department and expressed the interest. That's how they filled it out. So when you say our job is to govern and our job is to set policy, we voted on the policy, staff is processing it, they can't provide an update on where the program is because it's still in processing, because now Building and Code has to do their inspection, and then the jobs have to be approved, then the results of what happened from the program would be an update report to us. But since we just voted and approved on it at the last board meeting, I hear what you're saying, trustee, but we have to allow staff to go through their process. And that's the process that we actually agreed to as policy in the program.
No, what I'm saying is this. What I'm saying is, let me be very clear. You mentioned all of those different avenues and alternatives for me to find out. I'm not supposed to find out what the general public finds out about it. I'm supposed to find out well in advance. So a flyer should be given to this board on what's the deadline, and all of the instructions so that we can clearly help communicate these programs that we've advocated for and how's it going. Now you can say that there's 59 people that have applied and we didn't have any information on it. You say, oh, well, you could have went to the website, you could have read the newsletter. That's for the general public. As an official governing officer, we're supposed to know well in advance of what's happening, when it's happening, and how it's happening as it relates to everything to do with this municipality. And so just to make sure we're all on the same page. And so this is not even for you, I'm not even talking to you at this particular juncture, I'm talking to Frank. Anything that happens in this village, well, before the public know, this board should know, the governing officers should know. And so there may be some folks that don't understand the process or how this government works, but I will certainly understand it, and I want to make sure that we're operating under the right form of government. And so before anything goes out, the board should know it. The board should definitely know about it.
The attorney wanted to respond to the other comment in regards to the village manager assessment.
Yeah, Trustee Brandon, you brought up the goal setting. That is one of the things that's hopefully going to happen at the July 30th retreat. And to that end, Attorney Jerusik wanted me to pass out to the board members tonight the goals that you had set with Manager Christie for your review in advance of that meeting, so that you can say, are these going to be the same goals? Do we want to add new goals? So this is information for you to digest and bring to that meeting.
Okay, thank you. I need a motion to go into closed session.
Oh, Mayor, I just had a quick.
Oh, Trustee Jones.
Just not a question, just because I was also advocating for some of these programs, I did go on the village website and look at it. You can get access to the program on the website. It says you have to go to this bit.ly/Maywood Homes 2024 website, or you have to call 708-450-6366. I guess a couple comments are, a lot of our programs will have like paper forms that you can kind of like hand out. Someone could like print it or, manually print it out. So those would be nice so we can like, hand them out to community members. So if those are available. The other thing too, if I go to the form, I am like interested in where it's like, because it's a Google document, and the Google document doesn't have like it's not going to a village source. So, in terms of how we're, where this information is going, it will be good to. Okay. Okay. So, but yeah, I mean, it would be nice just so we can have that just to that applicant, the paper one, so some people that aren't,
So you're correct. So we do have residents that call in, and I do it for them online for them. Some of our older residents, but we do have paper copies as well.
Okay. And you were saying you have access to this database that when someone goes through Google Docs, you have access to that database.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Motion to go into closed session to discuss pending litigation, and C, the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of certain employees of a public body.
So moved.
Moved by Trustee Brandon, second by Trustee Jones. Please call roll.
Trustee Williams? Aye. Trustee Sanchez?
Aye.
Trustee Jones?
Aye.
Trustee Lightford? Trustee Peppers? Trustee Brandon?
Aye.
Mayor Booker?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Ms. Vicky, look out
Everyone,
the flyers for
please
those
have a great
programs.
night.
I will. You'll be sending me by email.
You don't be ready.